The Witcher 4 is finally in full-scale development, and I'm sure many of us are very excited to see what CD Projekt Red come up with in the next installment of the series. However, I'm pretty sure there is a certain someone in particular who is not too excited to see the release of The Witcher 4, that being Todd Howard. The gaming world is no stranger to rivalries, but there are few as compelling between the companies that do RPG genres. Just comparing and contrasting the different aspects and details in these worlds is something that I'm always fascinated with. With CD Projekt Red, they have released two absolutely untouchable games in this kind of genre, you could say, that being Cyberpunk and The Witcher 3, two of the greatest games of all time in my opinion. And on the other hand then you do have Bethesda, who've released masterpieces such as Skyrim, and many games in the Fallout series are very respectable. But here is the truth, Bethesda is in fact falling behind, and CD Projekt Red is ready to seize the crown. With The Witcher 4 on horizon, we're looking at a game that could not only rival The Elder Scrolls 6, but probably completely overshadow it if you're being honest with yourself. Here's why The Witcher 4 might actually be the final nail in the coffin for Bethesda. Bethesda's ego has been tremendously hurt with the poor reception, let's just say, that Starfield have received, but it also showed their inability to adapt to a modern audience, but also modern expectations of what an RPG should be. The Witcher 3 is almost 10 years old, if you could even believe that, because time does fly. But what I'm trying to say is that Starfield doesn't even compare to it, and it was released in 2023. That doesn't really make much sense to me if you are a company that is trying to actually push forward the genre of RPG games. It's not a case of The Witcher 3 just having a better storyline. Like, I can forgive that if Starfield doesn't have a more compelling storyline, but the fact that the in-game mechanics themselves, the visuals, etc., are not as good as a game that is almost 10 years old, I don't particularly think that is acceptable. Sure, Bethesda have made Skyrim, and that was absolutely revolutionary, there's no denying that, but that was in 2011. The endless re-releases of this game do suggest that the studio is clinging on to their past glory rather than pushing forward, and when they have tried to push forward with Starfield, they just completely failed. When CD Projekt Red went ahead and released Cyberpunk, yeah sure, we can say how bad the release of it was, but they went ahead and redeemed that game and made it one of the best ever. Can you go ahead and tell me that Bethesda have went back to Starfield and sort of redeemed that in any sense? If anything, they've just released a really poor DLC that's tarnished the game's reputation even more. The comparison I'm trying to make between the two companies here is trust. Do you seriously think you can trust Bethesda more than CD Projekt Red? Who can you trust the most to deliver an actual good game in the big age of 2025, for example? Who are you going to pick? Because I'm certainly not going to pick Bethesda. Now I want to talk about both of their big releases, if you want to call it that will be coming out next. The Witcher 4 and Elder Scrolls 6. Both companies have been very tight-lipped about each release. Yes, that is true. However, off a reputation standpoint, who am I going to trust the most to make their game the best they possibly can? With no shortcuts, I'm probably going to say CD Projekt Red. So my concern for Bethesda is that when these games come out, let's just say if they come out the same time frame for example, and we see the comparisons between them both, if The Witcher 4 does in fact blow them out the water completely, how many more chances are we actually going to be giving them? How many more excuses are people going to make for this company that will just not innovate at all? It's kind of staggering and almost impressive how many people are still loyal to Bethesda from their past releases like Skyrim. Like, people do actually have to understand that this is not the same company it was 10, 15 years ago. These guys are kind of brain dead in the sense that they genuinely do not have any idea how to appeal to a modern audience and how to tell actual compelling stories within their games. Like, this is the company whose lead writer believes that people will just quite literally skip through the dialogue of every single game ever made.
Let's say, okay, we're gonna write the great American novel. It's gonna be this thing. And on every page will be written comedy and tragedy, and it'll be wonderful, it'll be amazing. And you're gonna give this book, this great American novel, to the player. And what are they gonna do with it? They're gonna rip out every page and make paper airplanes out of them. And they're gonna throw them around the room. And they're never gonna see your story. Because the story is there, right? But they are gonna spend 30 hours making shacks
That is actually still crazy to me that that is a lead writer at a $1 million game studio. The Elder Scrolls 6's expectations are high enough, and when you have this guy writing the storylines for it, how do you think that is going to turn out? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be really attention grabbing? Do you think it's going to be really thoughtful? I think it's just going to be a load of faff where you just skip along and get on with the story, because that's what they think that we want. When you have people actually as out of touch with the gaming world as Emil, do you seriously want and expect your franchise to succeed? If I'm an avid Elder Scrolls lover and I go ahead and purchase Elder Scrolls 6, and that is the kind of storyline quality I'm getting, I'd one, be very disappointed, and two, I would quite literally just put the game down, see if I can refund it in any way, shape or form, and I would just go ahead and purchase The Witcher 4, where I know I'm going to get good quality story and everything else. I haven't really thought about this point until making this video now, but it will be kind of catastrophic if Elder Scrolls release comes at about the same time as The Witcher 4, because in a sense of if they come out in the same year, for example, and when The Witcher 4 just completely embarrasses it, it's over for Bethesda. There is no way that people are going to trust them again. So it's either a case of The Witcher 4 will come out, Bethesda will see it, they will be absolutely terrified, and I think they would actually delay the game another 2 to 5 years maybe. But this sort of just adds on to my point that I'm trying to make, that CD Projekt Red are leaps and bounds ahead of Bethesda in everything. So even as a casual gamer, when you sort of compare both of these newest releases and we actually see the quality difference between the two, I genuinely think that Bethesda's reputation as a company as a whole is just going to absolutely plummet, even in the casual gamer's eye. This genuinely wouldn't be a problem if Bethesda could just admit defeat in a way and just sort of, stop stroking their own ego in a sense that they think they can compete at the top level anymore, because their recent work shows us that they cannot. And in fact, I feel like if they do try and compete at the top level and don't get it right, then the embarrassment for them is going to be huge. I say this in a lot of my videos when I do talk about Bethesda, but it's not like I want Elder Scrolls 6 to fail and flop completely. Like, I genuinely do not want that to happen. In a perfect world, we do get 2 releases from 2 different companies that are both great, and both games that we can compare with each other, and games that we can keep playing and enjoy at a really high level. It's not like I don't want to be optimistic about Bethesda's future, but I'm not. I'm genuinely not, because I'm not an idiot, and I know that they're going down a pretty bad path in terms of the quality of games they're producing and just their general stance on the entire situation. So when The Witcher 4 does come out and it does genuinely change gaming forever by being maybe even the best game of all time, let's just wait on GTA 6 actually first before I say something like that, but I think it's going to absolutely humiliate the Elder Scrolls 6. I genuinely think it's going to be an absolute landslide, and it's just going to finish Bethesda once and for all. But yeah, that was a very quick summary on this entire situation. I kind of wanted to make a Witcher 3 or 4 video, if you will, just because it's my favourite game and I've yet to cover it on the channel yet. As well as that, I do apologise for the lack of uploads recently, just genuinely very busy nowadays in life in general, so it's just a case of making a new schedule and finding time to make videos, so that will be sorted in the future very soon, I'd like to think. I would like to branch out as well and make different videos other than Bethesda, but unfortunately it does feel like the only thing that sort of gets any engagement on the channel right now is Bethesda content, which is sort of a good thing and bad thing, because as much as I don't mind talking about Bethesda, it does get kind of tiring making the same points over and over again. So I will try to innovate and make some different content, but for the time being, I hope you guys do genuinely understand that in terms of engagement for the channel, views, etc., this is just genuinely what does well and what people seem to enjoy the most. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.